in thee.
My name is Robin, and I hope that today's sharing will serve as an encouragement for you for the rest of this week. I would like to cover a few verses from the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verses 20 to 26. Now, the King James Version reads, "My soul hath them still in remembrance, and is humbled in me. This I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, saith my soul. Therefore will I hope in him. The Lord is good unto them that wait for him, to the soul that seeketh him. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of the Lord." So that is from Lamentations chapter 3, verses 20 to 26. To clarify, the, the use of the term them in verse 20 is referring to the affliction, misery, and bitterness felt by the author, as mentioned in the preceding verses. Lamentations was written after Jerusalem was conquered by the Babylonians, and much of the city's inhabitants were either exiled or left behind in terrible conditions within the shattered city. Now, many passages in the book of Lamentations express deep shame or grief over the devastation and desolation, plus the sufferings witnessed and experienced. However, amid the struggles, there were also a few expressions of badly needed hope, as can be seen from verses 20 to 26 in chapter 3. Hope can be like a drink of refreshing water to a person's parched lips. Jerusalem had fallen, and sorrow filled the land. The prophet poured out his grief, yet in the middle of his lament, he turned his eyes towards God. Instead of allowing despair to consume him, he remembered God's mercies and compassions and how they will be renewed every single day. He remembered God's faithfulness and promises. He reflected on the importance of seeking God and waiting for the salvation of the Lord. These verses are a powerful reminder for Christians today that even in seasons of darkness, discouragement, or loss, we are never without reason to hope. The prophet begins by confessing in verse 20 that his soul still remembers the affliction, misery, and bitterness, and is humbled. He does not deny the reality of his pain, nor does he pretend that everything is fine. As Christians, we may sometimes be prone to hiding our struggles, thinking that it may show weakness or lack of faith to admit that we are afflicted. However, reflecting on our sorrows and pain is not a lack of faith. It could actually be the starting point for discovering the depth of God's comfort. The psalmist said, "The Lord is near to those who have a broken heart and saves such as have a contrite spirit." And this is from Psalms chapter 34, verse 18. When we seek the Lord with a contrite heart, it opens the door to God's mercies and compassions. Perhaps some of the more well-known lines from this passage are, "It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness." You can bring such hope and encouragement to know that yesterday's failures do not define us. God's mercies are not rationed, but they are renewed daily. And for the weary soul, this truth can bring fresh motivation. Every morning carries with it an invitation to trust him again. It also brings to mind the hymn that a lot of you are familiar with, "Great is thy faithfulness." Finally, the prophet encourages us that the Lord is good unto them that wait for him, to the soul that seeketh him. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of the Lord. Waiting is never easy, but it is in waiting that faith is refined. Quiet waiting is not a passive resignation. It is an active rest in God's promises. As Isaiah reminds us in chapter 40, verse 31, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Now, brothers and sisters, if you find yourself weary or discouraged, take heart. Like the prophet in Lamentations, you may feel the weight of sorrow pressing on your soul. However, do not give in to misery, but instead recall the faithfulness of God. Remember that His mercies are new every morning, including this morning. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is having absolute trust in the promises of God. And our God is faithful, merciful, and unchanging. Therefore, no matter what lies ahead, we can say to God with confidence, "Great is thy faithfulness." Have a great week ahead, and thank you for listening.
Holy